Thank you so much for joining us today for the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. Here on the Pastor's Potluck, it's similar to a normal potluck where you might get something that you want and there may be something that you just want to pass up altogether. And that's okay. There's something here for everybody. Our goal here is to encourage you and maybe in the process entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Is it cold in here?
I was freezing in my office, so.
Well, there you go. A little mini bonfire. Dude, that's what they should do.
They have those.
A candle that looks like it's like a little piece of wood. Like I know they have the woodwick ones.
But no, they have little mini, they're called tabletop campfires. But they're like almost, it almost reminds you of it's like a metal fire pit idea, but like reminds you almost of a sterno can too, but different.
I need one of those. Do you know what they're called? It's called the tabletop campfire. All right, cool.
It may not be that exactly, but that's one of the. Let's look.
Well, good morning, afternoon, or whenever you're procrastinating. This is the Pastor's Potluck Podcast, where we make multitasking sound productive. Is that a legit fire? Or is that like one of those little fans that has like the cloth?
Got like a little, some kind of fuel down in there, but.
I know. I'm going to get one.
Sorry. Send
me that link.
Okay.
Yep, I'm going to get one. So, welcome back. Welcome back. ADD's running strong today.
Listen,
I need the Holy Spirit to be my Adderall right now. Get me back on track.
Yeah. Sorry, that's
it's good to have you back.
It is good to be back.
We were talking about this. It was like, now that we've kind of changed the format up to where we don't do like Scott one week and then somebody else and then back and forth. And then it's hard to keep track of like all the things that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. We just do like these blocks. And so it just kind of pushes everyone back a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is okay. Yeah. It's all right.
Yeah. I was laughing though, because I feel like the last time I was on here was when I think it was like started a week that I had to preach or whatever. And then this is around the time where I have a lot, like I'm speaking at SYC this weekend and then I preach next week.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, but that's okay. Cause it gets my brain off of some of that other stuff, which, you know, based on the last topic you guys recorded, it's good to occasionally step away and let your brain think.
That's right.
While the stuff marinates.
While it marinates. Yeah, because sometimes like whenever you're just like taking in so much information, because it's not just like your Bible reading and you're studying and seeing what other pastors or whoever is like wrote on this topic to try to get like some ideas or whatever, maybe get the juices flowing. If it's kind of like crock pot it, like just like set it.
Yes. Come
back after a little while to check on it. Okay, you know, and then eventually it'll get done.
Yep.
So at least you've done the hard part by put all the ingredients in the crock pot and it's on.
Yep.
You're just waiting for
it to get stirred up. I don't know. Anyway, okay.
It's all good. Life is good. God is good. And today's conversation is going to be good because we're really, 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 really going to like ultimately just celebrate a lot of the stuff that we do here as a church. What does it look like to be a church that our community cannot live without? And while we do these things good, this is not the end all be all of what we are going to do, because we know that there's going to be more opportunities that open up just because of who God is. And whenever you're faithful with the things that he has given you and the ideas, and you've run with them, like he presents more opportunities and he goes, wow, I can trust them with more. So I don't know, maybe there's a look to the future in this conversation, but for sure we want to celebrate just some of the things that God is doing through us as a church, through individuals who like really make a lot of these things happen, but then also just celebrate God's goodness and his faithfulness, because we are seeing people take next steps on their faith journey because of being obedient through these things that he's asked us to do.
Yeah.
So the first one I wanted to talk to is something that we just wrapped up. I shouldn't say just wrapped up, but we just had everyone bring all their stuff in, and that's Impact Schools.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that the church has been doing before you even got here, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think even whenever Anthony and I were just dating, I remember us coming up, and
that's over 11 years ago, right? Because y'all been married for 11?
We've been married 12.
12.
And yeah. So when we were just dating, it was pretty early on. Our group actually, so we've done it differently at different times. Like, I don't know, it's changed a lot over the years, but I want to say that this particular year, for some reason, maybe we took the boxes down to a store parking lot and families met us there for them, maybe, and we were stationed somewhere. I could totally be misremembering, and it might have been something completely different, but I think that we did that. But yeah, it's been going on for quite some time. I think when they first started, it was only like maybe 1 or 2 schools. Then it developed to 3 schools. Now we have 4 schools. And they used to have families come here, and we would have like hot chocolate or stuff for them while they picked them up. But a lot of people either don't drive or don't have a way to get out. Sometimes they were embarrassed coming, there's a lot of those dynamics that, they're afraid they're going to see somebody and feel judged or shame or whatever. Yeah. And so now it's all through the social workers that work through in the school, and we take them to the schools. They make sure that the people get them, because there were times that we had people like just not come, and we'd have all these boxes still that were like, hey, like we need to get them their food. How do we do this? Because we didn't even have the family's names before, you know? And so anyway, like there were times where we had like a recipe book, and we literally built the boxes based on recipes that could be made. And just, it's developed and changed a lot over the years. But right now, currently, we have the 4 schools. Most schools get, like 3 of the 4 schools typically get about 20 boxes. And it's a box for Christmas break to help sustain those kids during Christmas break. So now we put a lot of things in there that kids can easily make or do on their own. Because parents work, or it's something simple. Yeah. But the 4 schools, the one school, Midway Elementary, which is actually not in the county that we're located in, but it's still only just a few miles up the road. Yeah. It's in Lincoln County, but they need 35 boxes this year. Like their need just seems to keep going up. And in the past, we did something very different this year, where in the past we always had like 3 months where we just told people to bring in items every single week. And it can be like noise to people, when you're announcing something every single week, and then they're like, oh wait, what was the item this week? Gosh, I forgot. It's like, it was a way that worked for a season somewhat, but it was still difficult. But this year we changed it up because of the thing that we did with Beauty Day, and we were like, hey, let's try this differently. So we actually got the boxes early and labeled them and had them out there, and people took the boxes home with a shopping list inside and a prayer guide to be able to like make sure we know now, like every family that is getting this, they've been prayed for too. Yeah. Which is huge, because it's something that seems like, if you're not super spiritual, it can seem weird. Like, what, you're praying for a family you don't even know? Or like, we would say we're praying over these boxes, and it's like, well, we're not praying over the boxes. We're praying for the families who are going to receive the boxes. Yeah. But anyway, and the first day that we did it and people were carrying boxes out, I thought, oh goodness, these boxes are kind of big. I hope they have room in their cars.
Yeah.
Because we put them together because that's the easiest way.
Yeah. And it creates an incredible visual for the need.
Yes.
As
that
opposed to just
yeah.
a stack of deconstructed boxes.
That was part of my thing, is that like, I am a very visual person.
Yeah.
And so telling me there's 100 families plus or whatever that we're going to feed is like, okay, that's a number. Cool.
Yeah.
But seeing all the boxes was like, okay, that's big. I should probably do that.
Yeah.
I can spare $50, $60 or whatever to shop for that family. But like this past week was our
Bring the box back Sunday.
Yes. I put it in quotes because we always do it a little earlier to give it a buffer. But watching people carry box in after box in.
Oh, it was
amazing.
amazing.
We already had like a decent amount. The wall in the next steps room was already full. We had to bring them out in the lobby. But just watching them bring them in, it was really, really cool to see. And people knew like, I've provided all of this for a family.
And you can see it on like the kids' faces too of these families. Like, cause you know that mom and dad probably took them to the grocery store while they were looking for these things and got them involved, which is, it's just a great way to show your kids generosity and what it looks like to help take care of people who, are less fortunate, you know, and that are maybe going through a time to where they do need those things. And so even though the boxes are so heavy, it's just awesome seeing like, you know, like these little kids, like, you know, trying to put their hands underneath the box and help bring it in.
Yeah. I
like,
think
it's just
my favorite picture from all that, because we take, you know, we have somebody that takes photos, and my favorite picture that we shared it on our social media was the one of, and I mean, it's two grown men, but they each had a handle of the box carrying it in together. And it was like, I saw it and I almost cried because I was like,
from two different families.
Because I'm like, you know, the one guy, I mean, he works out, he's pretty buff, like, you know, whatever. He could easily carry that box on his own.
Yeah.
But you could see that they were talking as they were carrying it. And it was just a cool thing, a moment to be captured.
Yeah.
But yeah, the kids, you know, I took my kids, like our little promo video we did, I took my kids shopping with me to do it and explain to them what we were doing. Because I think one of my biggest goals as a parent is to help my kids understand that if you can help, you should help.
Yeah.
Like, to understand that God uses ordinary people to help meet the needs of other people. Like, that is how, you know, that's how the early church was designed. That's how he designed things from the beginning. I mean, when the first tabernacle was built, where did all that stuff come from? From the people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yes, God created the things that they then were able to get and all, whatever. But like, that he used the people. He could have made all that. He had rained down manna from heaven during that time and quail and all that.
Yeah.
He could have made it himself.
Yeah.
But he used the people to like, and it just shows that God wants us involved in the way that, like, in the things that he's doing of the world.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, allowing the kids to be involved and help them to understand that, like, even if they don't have everything that they want, that we have what we need.
Yeah.
And even if we struggle or we do ramen noodles for a little while or whatever it looks like. I mean, my kids actually really love ramen noodles. They wanted that for dinner last night.
That's what we're doing.
That's what I made. Like,
jeez.
And they've been on a SpaghettiOs and meatballs kick, but too. But
somebody in my family decided to grab a lot of boxes.
Yes.
And so we are on
thankfully it was less than what it would have been, because they started bringing all the rest of the boxes in that one day. And I was like, wait, what is happening? And but I think that's cool, because you all did one per kid.
Yeah.
Like, for every kid that you had in your family, you provided a box, which is also like just a really cool thing.
Yeah.
To do. And one of those kids, like, I mean, well, a couple of the kids at the time, you know, they're your foster kids. Mm-hmm. And so, like, they know what it means, I am assuming, to be in need.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they know that. And I personally know that from when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And so that's what, like, this outreach that we do means so much to me.
Yeah, it does. It's just incredible just to say, like, what do you like? What, reach out to the schools. What do you need help with? This is what we do. Do y'all know of some families that could benefit from this? And I think that every year that I've been here, whether it just be 5 boxes that we add every year, it has grown exponentially. I think the first year that I was here, it was maybe like 75 boxes, and then it was like 85, and then it was like 90, and then 100, and then this year, it was 100 plus, and it's just amazing to see us being able to fill that need that families are in desperate need of. It's just,
and I know that yes, there are food pantries, and yes, there are those things. Like, we went to food pantries a lot as a kid, and we knew the different ones, and like we would go to this one this week, another one another week, but even with that, like, some of these families don't have a way to get there, or of course, while I was down there working and helping with that the one day, which is Bread of Life Food Pantry down at Davis Creek Nazarene, we help with.
Yeah, we'll talk about that
yeah,
too.
we will. But while I was down there, you had people who were like picking up boxes for other people because they didn't have a way, which was, there was one man, and it broke my heart, but there was one man on a bicycle. Yeah. And if you know that church, like, that hill
it is a hill.
A hill and a half. Yeah. And so he had a big duffel bag that he then had to put this stuff in and then get up that hill to then go wherever he was going. And I was like, if I was a dude with a truck, I'd totally take him home right now. But but anyway, what was I gonna say? The kids in the need, and that, like, yes, there are things out there, but there's still often more need than there are resources for people. And so it is one of those things that it's like, this is a great start, but then that future thinking of, like, man, when we're debt free, what more can we do? Like, being able to do boxes for spring break, for Thanksgiving, for a lot of boxes. There are a lot of churches that will partner with the schools to help do, like, blessing bags for the weekend, things like that there is definite need for. Like, what's it look like for during the summer for those kids? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just so much need and so much more that could be done. But I think this past week, seeing them boxes come in with all the people carrying them in and all that was really a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, it was amazing. Now, another one that I wanted to talk about that's actually, like, food related too, is a way that you can, obviously it's real easy to jump in because a lot of people just don't know and don't understand, but like, how the whole process works. And I think that anytime you do anything new, especially like volunteering your time or whatever, like, it can just kind of be daunting at first, but is that Bread of Life Food Pantry. I got to do it back in September, and I'm trying to get one. I may go help out on Friday whenever this episode releases, but you want to talk about, there's a need for helpers with that as well. Our church oversees every other Saturday at this every other Friday. Sorry. Thank you.
It's okay.
At this food pantry, and the need is great. Like, you don't have to go to the grocery stores and get the food from them or it's already done and taken care of.
Yeah. Well, actually, like, some of our people go and help do the pickup suite. They have a partnership with Target. Yeah. Which is really cool. But so, like, if you are somebody who's retired or doesn't work during the day, like, they do a pickup typically on Tuesdays and then a lot of times on those Fridays. But they have a truck and everything that they use and go get that. But
that's what I was saying is it's like, it's very easy because literally all you do is you grab some stuff, put it in a box. And then as people come through the line and they check out paperwork and stuff and make sure that that's all in order, then you just put it in the car. Yeah. You wish them a happy, hey, I hope that you're having a great day. We're praying for you. Or just, some kind of word of encouragement, just like you can cut up and joke and laugh with them. And and just make the best out of a situation that, for a lot of people is humbling,
Yeah.
getting help, I mean, there's so
Yes.
much pride that we have in ourselves and how we do things. And,
Yeah.
obviously that's not a very prideful moment whenever you are just getting the basic necessities to live,
Yeah, absolutely. And like the last time I was only down there that day because we were interviewing the pastor of the church there for a video that we're doing for our end of year stuff. And I was like, well, I'll just stick around. I had a lunch meeting. So I was like, I'll stick around till my lunch meeting. And I had no clue what I was doing, but it was really nice because I was like, just tell me something to do and I'll do it. And
that's
so
how I
were
felt
like,
the first time I
so,
went.
so they were like, well, we need to grab some cereal from the hallway, and so I was moving stuff and just started doing things. And then I'm very social and like to talk to people. So they were like, well, usually so-and-so goes out to the cars and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, what do you do? And so they told me, and I was like, I'll do that. Sure. So I'm going around to the cars and trying to, asking if they've been there before. Because if they haven't, they have to fill out the paperwork and writing their names down so they can go ahead and pull their paperwork because they can only go once a month. And so they have to check that to make sure they haven't been there that month and all those things. And they put it in order so that way it's a smoother process. But as I'm going through and asking, I'd get to some people and they're like, no, I've not been here. They're like, do we blah, 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 blah. They're asking me questions that I don't know. And I was like, it's a wonderful question. I've never been here before either. And so they're laughing with me and whatever. But it was a really cool experience and fun. And there were a lot of people brought a lot of dogs with them that day that I was there.
Yeah, that's the funny
so
thing.
I got to pet some dogs. But yeah, it was humbling, like for them obviously, but humbling for me too, to like just remember. And like, it took me back to remember, like, I've come a really long way from where I was. Like, I had to overcome a lot. And so then even just knowing, like, I mean, the people who were there, who some I know, like one lady who's a mom of 2 young kids, and just even offering her some words of encouragement, say, hey, like, I remember going with my mom when I was younger to a food pantry, and I just want to let you know, like, you're doing a good job. Like, but remembering that may not always be where you're at, like, too. It's a fun, cool.
And they're always in need of volunteers.
Yes.
There's never enough people.
Right. And even
like
we do every other Friday, like we provide people every other Friday, but like that day that we were down there, it ended up, one of those things that God works out, because they had a lot of their regular people that would come help couldn't be there that day, or were out of town, or were sick or injured. And so several of us staff were down there to be able to help. But like the alternate weeks, Davis Creek provides the volunteers, but they don't have as many able-bodied people as we do. Yeah. And so even on those alternate weeks, like, it doesn't have to be our week, they would gladly accept the help. Yeah. And even like they had a couple people from Davis Creek there that day, because I guess they had contacted them to let them know. But they're running, Tom McVeigh, who helps a lot, he said that they've been running around at least 70 boxes every week right now. And we're about to hit Thanksgiving, which is usually a time like that week. They're usually slammed. Like
because
they give out like 125 or more.
Week. So they don't do anything the week of Thanksgiving, which is, I guess they give their volunteers and everybody a break, but it's a big week for sure. Yeah, I think it's the week before that's their busy week, but they do like extra stuff to make sure they have like shelves of stuffing and all those things there ready to go, like that they've been stocking up for their Thanksgiving boxes. But I'm looking over this list, and everything that we're talking about has something to do with food. Listen, food is a big deal. It is what sustains you. And yes. So we do the UC football meals. We like to feed people. Might be why we also have some people overweight on staff, just including myself. No, stop that. No.
We do. Listen, food is like one of those things that I think, especially with the UC football meals, that is a cool moment to be able to sit at a table or feed someone. I just think that there is a level of interaction and stuff happens when it involves something like that. I think it's why Jesus sat around the table with his disciples, different things. But, and obviously like the UC football meals, well, you can share more about that. I'm talking a lot.
Yeah, the UC football meal was something that that was birthed out of like conversations that myself and Erica and Pastor Scott had about college age kids, because we were relatively new whenever this conversation happened, but it was just, there wasn't a whole lot of college kids that stuck around here. Once they graduated, they either went to WVU or Marshall, and not a whole lot of kids stayed local with going to like community colleges or West Virginia State or University of Charleston. And so we were just tossing around ideas, and I just said, why don't we just try to feed the football team?
Yeah, we had a football player that came here.
We had a football player and a coach that came here. And so the door, like, it was already cracked open. Like, it wasn't like we had to go through like a long-winded process to try to get approval for anything. It was just one of those things to where, hey, we have an idea. What can we do? Does this sound like something that we can do for y'all during the football season? Is cook, because they always have team meal. And can we just take care of that for y'all? And it'll be a home cooked meal as opposed to, cafeteria food or whatever else is done for them. It gets them off the campus for a little bit. It says, hey, we're a church. We're thinking about you. We're praying for you. And I think that their attendance at football games has gone up by an average of like 50 people a week that they play because of that. And it's incredible because a lot of people say, oh, why would you take the time and feed the UC football team? And I'll tell you this much, the relationships that are happening because of the volunteers that show up on these dinners, and then they go and cheer the team on. Like, you could see these friendships. Like, we have an older lady, and she volunteers all the time, and she goes down to the football games, and she has this personal connection with several of them. They look at her like she is their grandmother. And, I mean, they're not even the same race. And so, but they treat her with so much love and respect, and she gives, and it's just reciprocated back to them as well from her. And it's just amazing what God is doing. We have seen them come up and volunteer and help out with projects that we had. They came up and helped rip up floor whenever we had our leak several years ago. We've had them come and do community service hours because they all have to have a certain amount of community service hours. So they come up and they volunteer at the church, and we're able to sign off and help them out with that as well. We've had some of them come to our services, and we had one for a while that was like regularly attending. I think he transferred, but that door for them to know that a church loves them and cares for them and would not be here today if it wasn't just for saying, hey, can we cook y'all some spaghetti or cook like 5,000 eggs because they eat a lot.
Well, and I even think of like the one player who he actually had to get hours because he got in trouble for something. Like, not anything terrible. It was a silly thing anyway. But like, he's came here some, but he still has a relationship with Pastor Anna and Paul that like he'll go to their house occasionally and hang out. They've taken him to lunch occasionally, and it's really cool and fun to see that. That kind of thing happen, but also like even with the coaches, because like the head coach and his wife and their kids are coming really regularly now.
Yeah.
And even like there was one week that they didn't think that they would be here that week because it was their really far away game.
Yeah.
They were still here that next Sunday. And I was like, I didn't think you all would be here. And they were like, yeah, we didn't either, but we decided to come anyway. And they want to have their youngest baby, like they want to have their baby dedicated, which is just cool because they're getting connected and they're seeing next steps. But then also like, that their coaches, some of their coaches are getting that kind of faith and pouring into that then can end up translating and possibly impacting those players' lives, like even on the field or at practices and those types of things that maybe wouldn't have happened before had those things gone on. Like I've been able to be there for both those coaches' wives in different ways through some hardships and things that they've gone through. And, we know what it's like to live in an area where you don't have family around. Yeah. And so I think it's easier for when you know how that feels to like be like, hey, let me be here for you. But without that, they wouldn't have that. Like they wouldn't have that community and stuff. And so it is more than just a meal. Yeah. And that's what is cool and powerful to see. Like that it is more than just a meal. And we know like the one player that came and he went to that lady's group. Like he would faithfully, and then he got engaged. They both came to the group, they are now married and gone, but, moved for I think her school or whatever. But like, still, it's just, you don't know when you say yes to something like that. It can seem like, why are we going to spend money on like college teams have funds? You know what I mean? Like a lot of people might think that, like, why would we put money here when we're trying to get out of debt? Because we're seeing change happen.
We're
like
seeing people that are prioritizing their faith.
Yes.
Because of just cooking them a simple meal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can't put a price tag on that.
No.
Like, you just can't.
No. It's amazing. It's literally amazing. Whenever you just take a step back and look at what God has done through the lives of those individuals, it's incredible. Seeing people prioritize their faith and like you said, people that are attending and taking their next steps, even if it looks like, hey, I'm just gonna dedicate my child, or joining a group, whatever that looks like for them and their next step. It's just absolutely incredible. Another one that I wanted to talk about, and this is the last one that we have on here, not unless you wanted to add any more food related, is it's not necessarily our community that we're making a difference in, but it's our community in another country. So it's kind of like our neighborhood, like in Ecuador. Yeah. And that's the meal packing that we do, because of the need that is just so great, because it is a third world country. The area that they are in is very, very, very impoverished and rural, and just don't have the modern amenities that we take for granted every day. But it's an easy way to make an impact, and an easy next step for individuals that do call Southridge Church their home. Yeah. And that's with our meal packing that we do. Now we do this once a year. Yeah.
Yeah, we do it once a year. So this mission partner is multifaceted, because meal packing is just one part of it. Yeah. But we also do a discipleship fee, which I'll talk about in a minute. But the meal packing we do once a year. We have increased that number of meals each year. This was our third year doing it. Yeah. So
this number gets crazy.
Yes.
It doesn't go up by 5 every year.
No, it went up by 5,000.
By 5,000.
So yeah, we packed 40,000 meals this year. Which honestly, like, I wasn't sure that we were going to be able to do any more than what we did last year. And technically it actually went up for what we provided for the space personally as a church. it went up 10,000 this year.
10,000, yeah.
Because what we personally as a church paid for last year was 30,000 meals.
Yeah.
We packed 35,000 meals because they had some other donors that they threw it in there to allow us to pack those because they knew we had the people and all of that. But yeah, so this year we packed 40,000 meals, and these meals are like more than just a calorie thing for them. It's a mixture of rice, lentils. There's like a veggie mixture, which is like the seasoning and the stuff like that. But they also get a vitamin pack inside, which is huge because Ecuador, it's not a calorie deficiency that they have. It's a vitamin deficiency that they have. Where like Africa, it's a calorie deficiency and vitamin deficiency. But like, cause they have in most anywhere you go, like even the poorest, they might have a mango tree in their backyard. You know what I mean? They might have a plantain tree. And so there's a lot of that they can get and have access to, but they don't have a lot of access to that variety that gives them those nutrients and vitamins that they need to really thrive. And so for you as an attender of Southridge Church, signing up, and it's something that you can do as a family. Yeah. My daughter does the stickers every single time. Pastor Jess got a picture of my youngest, my 4-year-old, coloring on the boxes. Yeah. And he just was like as happy as could be, even though he just does the scribbling. Like both my boys don't really enjoy coloring so much. Like Carter is getting more into it. He does a little better, puts a little more effort into it. But Esme's the one that like, she will take her time and she wants it. She's kind of a perfectionist, but but so she's done the stickers for the last 3 years, you know, and that is her job. That's what she wants to do, and she's great at it. And because she is somewhat of a perfectionist, and it's got to be in that box, you know, so she's like very much in her zone when she does it. But it is something that you can do as a family, and you get to know people. But then you know, like these meals, and it may not be those specific 40,000 that get there because of timing and all of that, but we know that 40,000 meals are going to be provided for these kids in Ecuador, that then when we go down in June of next year, we'll get to meet more of these kids, more of these families, and hear more stories of how this has impacted their lives. Yeah. And last year, Derek's story was one of those that like we've shared a couple times here, but his story was one of those that was like, oh, and you don't realize just how much it is. Like that Derek has sickle cell anemia, you know, and he couldn't handle his medication because of that vitamin deficiency. And so once he started that, like 6 months later, he's out there playing on the playground that we went down there and built. Yeah. 6 months before that, he couldn't hardly do anything. He had no energy to leave the house. Like he would just lay around in the hammock and, you know, whatever, and barely had any energy. Like it was not a normal 8-year-old, you know? Yeah. And so seeing that, but it's more than just food too. Like, I mean, it is literally life impact, life changing for them, but they're going to what's called a story club, which is what our discipleship fee goes to pay, to where we know in that area, we know that they're not just getting meals each week, but they're getting discipled every single week. They're getting told about Jesus every single week.
And that's what Pastor Vicente is in charge of?
Pastor Vicente is in charge of it. He has, you know, volunteers. He's got a leadership team now built within his church. So when we were down there the first time, Pastor Scott and I went and we met him, he was just building it back up. Like it was, you know, after COVID, he was just building it back up. He had maybe one leadership person. When we went down there again, he had like 12 people on his higher up level leadership team, plus others that were in charge of like the story clubs and those types of things. And they've actually, because the need is great, they have 2 additional areas that they do the story clubs in, that they go to and do, because those families can't get there. Yeah. Which is just cool, right? And so like I love it because like there are some things that we do where we take things out, you know, to help, but then other things like where we do it there, and that's what I think Pastor Scott and I, when we were there, we just resonated so much with him and his passion to like reach people, was that it wasn't just about him. Like he was personally going out and inviting people and bringing them in, and you know, he wasn't just like sitting there week to week and expecting people to just show up. He was putting legwork into it. And I think that's the level of things that we sometimes forget.
Yeah.
Like we could sit here all day and say, oh, there's so much need, what do we do? Like we can't ever make a difference, or, or what do we got this money, or we want to do something cool, but what do we do? But we're not like going out and figuring out what those things are. Like, that's why I think the UC thing is cool. It is different.
Yeah.
It is something that we had never done here before. And that was something that we had a connection here with a couple of people that from the team, we had a conversation.
Yeah.
We did that. Now they come to us, but then like with the food boxes that we do,
yeah,
we take it to them in a way, we did the neighborhood egg hunts, last year and some other years. And that's something that like we're meeting people right where they are. And I think some of those things are really cool to see. But
yeah, I know we had some other stuff that we were going to talk about with some mission opportunities that, where we go out, we have local missions trips, or what we call local missions trip, which is where we stay in the country. We've talked to this a little bit. We actually did this recap, was our Dream Center trip. I feel like we've talked a lot about Beauty Day and what that means and what it looks like for the ladies that are in recovery point, and how we take a day to make sure that these girls that are in recovery and doing the hard work of trying to build back their lives that have been ruined by addictions and other circumstances, feel loved, feel that they are worthy of that love. They feel seen and celebrated and supported. And it's just an incredible mission opportunity that we do once a year, just to show like, and the funny thing is like, we talk about, I feel like we talk about this a lot, but one of the things that I believe that will change whenever we do get debt free is, what does Beauty Day look like? Because that program is a revolving door. And so there's a lot of girls that graduate, and it's doing it only one time a year is, you only get one batch of girls that are going through the program. Yeah. So it's like, man, we should really double this, because that way the impact on individuals, and feeling that love and support and that appreciation, and literally making them feel.
It might not even be to that scale. It could be that we like literally do monthly haircuts, or it could be that we, regularly provide them with whatever, some of the hygiene stuff, or
that's what I'm saying. Like there's so many different opportunities.
There's so many things that we could do. Like we do have a group that have created their own nonprofit that work with them, that do things, which we need to get her on here.
Yes.
But we need to get Lori here, but for this, and maybe we'll do that soon. But, we bring ladies here for church. We do a class for them. They do monthly kind of connection events with them, where there's always usually some sort of message involved as well. But what's it look like to like see how we could help them pay fines? What's it look like to help them learn how to, write a resume and interview for a job, or, get their driver's license back, or have bus passes to go back to work when they're done? Like, what's it look like to help provide safe spaces for visits with their kids, or where they're not at the center or something? Like, I mean, there's so many things that could happen with that. So I think that's cool to just like,
I think there's so many things that could happen with like all of our ministries. And
absolutely.
I don't, this is funny how this is like kind of like turning into like our For the Future campaign. But I just want to remind people that, with the little that we have been blessed with, to be able to make a difference, can you imagine what the rest, what it's going to look like in 2 years time now, whenever we are debt free, and like all of these things are going to just not just be added to, but multiplied. It's going to be incredible. Like I'm excited to be a part of it and a part of the ride. And see how God continues to use us here at Southridge Church to minister to people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
You ready for this?
I am. Oh, well, so next week we're going to talk a little bit more about the actually like getting out and sharing your story type stuff. So I'm actually really excited about that because I think that's the component of all of these things. Like when we're doing a UC meal, when we're down at a school doing an event or whatever, I think that's the component of how do we show Christ to people and how do we present like what he has done within us to help then connect with them in a way that's going to tie back to some of our spiritual gift stuff, I think. But I think that's something that a lot of us don't know much about or like feel really intimidated about. And so that could keep us from wanting to get involved in some of these things because we're like, well, I don't know how to, talk to people or like, okay, I'm going to be there and don't put me, like we have some people that volunteer at the UC meals, but they're like, leave me in the kitchen. I don't want to be out there interacting with people. It makes me nervous. I don't know what to say. And so we want to help equip you a little bit for those types of things.
Huh?
Sports.
That's what people would, if they don't know what to say, they're just like, sports, huh?
Yeah, well, that's probably me when it comes to football. Can I tell you a really funny story real quick?
Yeah, we got time.
In relation to football. So Pastor Anna has done these discipleship groups for the teens where she's just trying to get another adult involved in their life. And one of my girls is on a dance team for Winfield. And I go to be there. It's her 8th grade night. And so I kidnapped, well, I didn't really kidnap, but I made somebody else go with me from here. And we're sitting there watching the game. This is how you're going to laugh so hard. Anyway, well, maybe you won't. Hopefully you will. Not think that I
come on, Aaliyah, just spit it out.
Okay. So they do the kickoff.
I know her name's Cheryl.
Yeah.
That was a dig at our intern.
Oh, and me, because I told her, I was like, just ask a question. Anyway, just tell the story. So they were like kicking off, right? And the team, they catch it, and he just lays down on the field. And I go, why did he just lay down? Because there's like nobody around him. He could have ran. I was like, why did he just lay down? And she goes, are you serious right now? And I was like, yeah, I don't know what's happening. Why would you just lay down after catching the ball? Why would you, like, he just dropped. And she's like, oh, and so she's like trying to explain it to me. I'd never seen that before. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Yeah, and you know why. And all these people listening to me are now like, wow, Cheryl, you're terrible.
Well, there's going to be some people, so explain it, what you heard.
No, you don't want me to explain it because I probably will not explain it right. Explain it.
No, do it. This is the great thing about the potluck. So we get to laugh. Our goal is to encourage and entertain. It's in the intro, so entertain us, Cheryl.
Yeah, so the way I understood was that it was better to do that than possibly run and like get knocked down or lose the ball or something. I don't know. I probably should not be explaining this.
All right, mystery meat.
You're not going to explain it better? Come
on. What is one band you wish you could meet?
I hate everything about this right now. Next time I'll keep my story to myself. Although I'll give myself props because I remember the name of a song yesterday when you guys were struggling. And if you've ever heard me try to answer a music question on here, you understand that I am awful with song names, but I remembered one.
Yeah, I know. I totally forgot.
Progress.
Okay,
sorry. What was the question?
If you can meet one band, who would you meet? You gotta remember, it's not just the song. You gotta know.
Why do I always get music? I don't always, but I feel like the majority of mine end up being music questions.
No. Would you rather a cereal soup questions? Like, would you rather like the more random
we did have
ones?
that. Yes, I loved that one.
I know, it was
and
great.
you got snippy about it.
I did. I had every reason to get snippy about it.
What band would you want to meet?
I think that there's a couple of them. My choices are, I don't know that they're not like Christian artists or anything like that. But a band that I listened to a lot whenever I was getting sober, and I listen to them like still to this day, and I follow along like what they're doing is Coldplay. I'd like to just sit down and like chat with them, kind of tell them my story. Just because their stuff always, it's like, I don't know, it's got like a positive message in it. It's not like Christian positive, but like, it's just like, hey, you're doing all right. Or they're like love songs and stuff like that. So, I think I'd like to meet those guys. I'd like to meet the guys from Led Zeppelin, just because they're probably like one of the greatest rock and roll bands from back in the day. I don't know if I could meet Christian artists. I really like Thrive Worship. We sing a couple of their songs here. And I think it's all just, it's all just like dependent on like, if I'm allowed to like, not just like a meet, like, hey, it's so nice to meet you.
But actually,
like, can I sit down and like pick your brain and like, what does a writing session look like? You know, what does your roles as worship leaders look like? And just learn from them in that aspect. You know, I'd like to learn from, you know, maybe some of the not so well known worship teams like Thrive Worship, Red Rocks Worship. I'd love to sit down and just chat with Phil Wickham.
Oh yeah.
I think that would be a pretty amazing deal for me, because anytime we introduce a Phil Wickham song, I'm the only male vocalist that we have, so I'm singing all of Phil's songs. So I'm like,
well, so I don't know, early on in mine and Anthony's relationships, well, plural, relationship. We did some things where like at like Winter Jam, we did the thing where like, I don't know if they still do it. We would go do the meet and greet with all the people, but we went to a Gungor and David Crowder Band concert. Which, you know, sort of our personal story with that. And so like, anyway, we went and we got to kind of meet all of them, and we shared with David Crowder Band, like, which John Mark McWillian was there for that concert too. And so like, we got to share with them about our personal story with the How He Loves song. So that was like a really cool moment. But I'm not a big star celebrity type person where I honestly can't think of any that I would care to meet.
I'm just an idiot whenever I meet famous people. What? I really am.
Yeah.
So I had a buddy whenever I lived in San Antonio. He played on the San Antonio Spurs practice squad. Big dude, 6'11", just a beast of a man. And he said, hey, you want to go watch this movie that just came out? I forget what it was. I was like, yeah, man, I got some time. Like, I'll meet up with you like after school or whatever. He's like, great. He said, I'm gonna invite some friends over. And I said, perfect, sounds good, whatever. We'll all go watch the movie. So we're standing outside of the movie theater waiting for his friend to show up, and it's Tim Duncan, who is the Hall of Fame power forward for the San Antonio Spurs. Probably the most famous person in San Antonio. Okay. He's just...
See, I wouldn't even know the people to be starstruck, so I guess it wouldn't matter for me.
Anyways, he's walking up, and I look at my buddy. I said, Joe, did you invite Tim to watch a movie? And he goes, yep, sure did. I said, great. I said, you're about to make fun of me for the rest of your life. And he still talks about it to this day. He gets up and he's introducing me to Tim Duncan and his wife. And I go, hey man, my name's Jared. Tim, right? And you're talking about like the most famous guy in all of San Antonio. Like, there's no mistaking who he is, because this is another 6'11" guy He is on national television. And this is at the height of the Spurs like dynasty between like the year 2001 all the way to 2012. So it's in that area, that span of time. And I just, the whole time, the reason why I don't remember what movie it was is because the whole time I'm sitting there going, gosh, I'm an idiot. And so I just do stupid stuff like that whenever I meet famous people. Like one time I met Tom York, the lead singer for Radiohead, outside of a hotel in San Antonio. And the only thing I could say to him, he was just like, "What's your name?" I was like, "Thank you." I couldn't stop telling him thank you because his music is like, their music is fantastic. I was just thanks, man. Thank you so much. Your music's just great. Thank you.
So funny.
What's your name? Thank you. I'm just Jared, but thank you. So
that's great.
That's maybe, I don't know. I
think, well, you are, I think with music stuff though, like you are a musically inclined person. So like, I think it obviously has impacted you in a different way, I think.
For sure.
It probably has me. I mean, I really enjoy music of all kinds.
Yeah.
And have listened to lots throughout my life. Broke my collarbone, the only bone I've ever broken because I was dancing on the couch to La Bamba. But anyway, that's a good story for you. I fell off on my brother's toy Tonka truck, but it was like the old school metal, heavy
metal
things.
Ones.
Yeah. So anyway, learned my lesson. I made sure all the toys were out of the way when I danced on the couch the next time. But yeah, so I just like, I don't know. I've met a lot of at least Christian artists in different ways, but it wasn't ever like a thing where I felt like, oh, I don't know words now. 'Cause it was just, they're just people to me. And most of the time I probably didn't know who they were.
I know. I'm just one of those annoying people.
One of my friends would like drag me around. Like she was very big into it. And so cause like when we went to that concert, that I told you about earlier, like she went with us. Yeah. And she is very much like, loves that stuff and loves to meet that. So I would kind of entertain her and go with her to meet, we met for King and Country. We've met like a lot of them. Who's the guy that sang, 7 times, 70 times? You know that song, like about forgiveness. Who is it?
Corey Asbury?
Yes, he was there at that concert. Some people from Pentatonics were there, which I really enjoyed meeting those guys. Yeah, they're amazing. Like I would like to meet a lot of them because I just think like when you can do that with your mouth, like that's, I don't know. Sorry.
Whenever you can sing like that.
Well, they beatbox and they make all the sounds. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's not just singing. Like that's a different level to me.
Just don't say that whenever you meet them.
Sorry.
I love that thing you do with your mouth.
Okay, this just sounds
like something I would say.
But I have told. So I am not awkward because of forgetting words. I'm awkward because the words that come out of my mouth are stupid sometimes. Like when I met somebody for the first time, which I haven't seen this person back since, they came to the Seder dinner that we did. And I told him, I said, hey, I knew his name when he walked in and knew who he was because I'd Facebook stalked him and I told him that. I said, you're friends with a lot of people that I know and some of my cousins. I said, but I somehow don't know you. Like, but I know you now because I Facebook stalked you. Yeah. And he just stared at me like I was a psycho, which maybe I am. But anyway. Yep.
All righty. We'll see you next week for another episode of the Pastor's Potluck Podcast where we'll talk about... I'll teach
you what not to say when you're sharing.
Yes, please. We need the help. I need the help.
Oh, so do I.
But y'all enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next Friday for another episode. Get out of here. Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. You can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.